Bill Gates once said that when he created Microsoft, his father asked him what software was. However, his mother asked him a far more insightful question, which was, why would anybody want a computer? Kia ora everyone, I'm Nathan Rose. I'm a lead consultant and Microsoft MVP based here in beautiful Auckland, New Zealand. So this morning, I got a text from John Russell of Sprint Zero podcast fame in the UK asking one of these fantastic, insightful why questions. He'd been at the UK user group in London today and attended Scott DeRoe's session on low-code plugins, which by all accounts was awesome. So huge shout out to Scott for his session on low-code plugins. However, John said, look, Nathan, this looks cool, but I don't quite get it. I can't get over this hurdle of why. Why would I want to do this? Now, it's a fantastic question, and candidly, it's one that I haven't spent enough time answering, right? I've spent a lot of time on the what and the how, but I haven't really explained why anybody would want to use low-code plugins. So, John and anyone else who's struggled with this, let's get into why this is a big deal, why you should care about it, and why you might want to use it in your next project. So, this video assumes that you have a working knowledge of the Power Platform, that you understand things like Dataverse and Classic Workflow and Power Automate. All right, so in our world as Power Platform professionals, as consultants, most of our time is spent automating business processes, right? So when a user does this, the system does that. When a user creates a contact, the system fills in these columns on the contact. When a user updates an account, the system creates these rows related to the account, right? This is our bread and butter. This is a lot of what we spend our time doing. Now, Microsoft have given us a number of different tools to help us automate this without having to write traditional software code, starting with Classic Workflow. So that's been around for a number of years, and Classic Workflow was the go-to tool until Power Automate. Now, Classic Workflow is a great tool. It can run both real-time and in the background. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's limited. It doesn't do a whole lot. Then we got Power Automate a few years ago, and Power Automate, I like to refer to it as the Swiss Army knife of the Power Platform. We can pretty much do anything and everything we want to do without having to write a line of code. It's fantastic. The only drawback with Power Automate is that it runs asynchronously. Now, this is the part where people who are functionals or makers start to get a bit lost and drop out of the conversation. So we need to address this concept of synchronous versus asynchronous, because this is absolutely key to understanding the why behind low-code plugins. So business processes can run either synchronously or asynchronously. This is a fancy way of saying real-time or in the background. Or in other words, for real-time, do not pass go, do not collect $200 until the process is finished running. This is very common in legal and financial scenarios. It's also common when we need to pass a message to the user after the process has finished running. Say, for example, I update a contact, I need to integrate with some third-party system to do stuff, and then pass a message back to the user. In this case, I don't want them going away from the contact record to do other things until that process is finished running. And so I need it to be real time, which means that record is locked down and the user is stuck until the real-time synchronous process is finished doing its thing. Now, most of the time, asynchronous or background processing is absolutely fine. That's why Power Automate runs asynchronously. Probably, if you had to throw a percentage at it, probably 80+% of the time, background processing is just fine. So the user clicks save, they go on with their day, and the process is triggered in the background to do what it needs to do. However, for those times when you need the user to not pass go and not collect $200 until that process is finished, that's when you need a synchronous process. Now, traditionally in the Power Platform, we've had to write plugin code to do this. Now, Classic Workflow does support these real-time synchronous scenarios, but as we've said, Classic Workflow is a bit limited in terms of what it can do, which means we are often writing code, which means technical consultants and developers. So basically the maker drops out of the game, a technical consultant comes in to write that code. Until we got low-code plugins. So what makes this such a big deal is that a maker or a functional consultant can create that synchronous process, that real-time process, by using PowerFX commands, stuff that they should be quite familiar with from creating things like Canvas apps. So this now democratizes this process, requirement whenever we need a real-time process, and makers and functionals can get involved and create this type of logic as well. So that's why low-code plugins are such a big deal. So John, fantastic question. Thanks so much for asking it. I hope this makes things a little clearer. Keep sending in questions like this because I love getting these kinds of questions. Go do something awesome on the Power Platform today, and I'll talk to you soon.